intentando determinar esto del uso de armas en Estados Unidos y cómo se tiene acceso a armas de alto calibre, a rifles de asalto como el utilizado en el ataque contra este bar en Orlando, Florida. Hemos buscado a personas que conocemos y nos hemos encontrado a un veterano de combate de el Ejército de Estados Unidos. Lo voy a identificar como Mike. Es una entrevista en inglés que espero que me ayude a seguir. Intentaré en la medida de mis posibilidades con mi inglés también darle mis comentarios. Y bueno, I would like to thank Mike for being with us. He's a U.S. Army veteran, and I really appreciate your time, Mike.
Hello.
Hi, how are you, Mike?
Pretty good. Yourself?
I'm trying to understand what weapon was used to commit this act in Orlando, Florida. Can you tell us about this rifle?
It's a AR-15. Shoots .223, or commonly known for the military 5.56 by 45 millimeter rounds. Shoots has the ability to carry or hold 30 rounds.
Is this used by the military, or how in the hell are we buying and selling these weapons to the public for civilians?
It's a civilian version of a military rifle. The difference between the military version and the civilian version is the military versions have a 3-round burst setting or the ability to fire full automatic. In the civilian version, you fire 1 round at a time, just single shot.
But you said that it holds up to 30 rounds?
Yes, depending on the state that you're from. There's laws that state how big of a magazine you can actually own for it.
And how fast you can change the, how do you call it? The
magazine?
The magazine, yes.
10-15 seconds without practice and everything. If like for military personnel, infantrymen in particular that train on a daily basis, it can be done in 5 seconds maybe.
Mike, would you say that this assault rifle, assault weapon, is built to kill?
No.
What's the purpose of this rifle then, this weapon?
The weapon is designed for civilians to have access to a military-designed weapon for target shooting, hunting, and stuff like that.
So this is used for hunting?
Yes, it can be.
Can you tell us, as a veteran, as a combat veteran of the U.S. Army, what do you think about these cases when people, I'm not sure if they're crazy or you name it, use these rifles that are, as you mentioned, built for recreational purposes for the civilians, use this rifle to kill. What do you think should be done, or what are your thoughts after the massacre in Orlando, Florida?
For my opinion and everything, it's a lot of people are screaming gun control. You see the president screaming gun control for weapons and everything.
Can you elaborate what you mean by that?
Where they want to take away our Second Amendment right for having rifles and everything. So basically everybody's going to scream, oh, AR-15s are bad. AR-15s are weapons used to murder people and everything. It doesn't have to be an AR-15. Before they came out with AR-15s, people were using shotguns and rifles and regular hunting rifles and everything. The AR-15 platform just makes it to where you can have more bullets on you and everything.
But basically, you're saying that you will oppose the idea of controlling or limiting the sale and purchase of weapons in the United States.
Yeah, I guess.
Even with a massacre like the one we just saw in Orlando.
It's not the weapon that caused the massacre in Orlando. It's a person. Everybody thinks, oh, it's the weapon, when it comes down to the person.
But when this person who is either crazy or has motivations, has access to these weapons, doesn't make it, irrelevant if it's the weapon or the person. Is the accessibility that we have to weapons, which is in question here, which should be the debate. How easy is for an American to access weapons in our country?
It's a state-by-state process. I'm from Texas, so when they run my background, if there's any issues, it's a 5-day wait. If you have your concealed carry, you have the ability to go in and use the background check that's already been done by the FBI to purchase that weapon that day. For this individual and everything, for his background, he worked for a security company here in the States. And then again, the flag should have went off on him purchasing the weapon, especially after being investigated by the FBI for...
Let me see if I'm understanding you. Pretty much you won't oppose to have more restrictions or to make it more strict, the process. You won't oppose that?
The process as it is now is fairly strict. I mean, it can be stricter.
Mm-hmm.
There's states out there that are stricter. Illinois, for example, has the FOID card, the Firearms Ownership Identification, where they have to take a course in order to get the card. So, I mean, they can do that, enforce that for every state.
I have mentioned the Mexican case, the case of Mexico. I'm from Mexico, and I know that there is a strict gun law in Mexico. No civilian is allowed to be carrying guns. Only the military are allowed. And even with these restrictions, we have the mayhem that we see every day, the craziness that is going on in our country. So you're saying that it doesn't matter if the government says no gun allowed to the civilians, that won't that won't stop these cases to happen again and again?
I mean, no, it won't. I mean,
what do we need to do? As a veteran, I want to hear your opinion. What do we need to do to avoid these massacres then? Because it's one after the other one, and it's not about if we're going to see another one, it's when we're going to see another one.
You're right. It's about when we're going to see another one. And the government's all about gun control for every citizen. But the United States Second Amendment, for allowing its citizens to carry and bear arms to protect themselves, their property, and others, I say arm every citizen. And let every citizen have the ability to have a firearm to protect themselves. No concealed carry laws, no open carry laws.
So you're saying let's arm everybody?
I say let's arm everybody. The criminals are already armed and everything. They go out of the way to get weapons where they don't have serial numbers on them or they're stolen and everything. They're still going to do whatever the hell they need to do.
So the accusations against the NRA, for example, do you consider those accusations baseless and political motivated?
Which accusations?
The accusations that because of the NRA money, the politicians are not strict on gun laws. That is the NRA work that is keeping us from having a tougher gun law in the United States.
The NRA's purpose in the United States is to help preserve gun rights for American citizens.
That you support too.
Yeah.
And
I mean, you're an American citizen too, right?
Yes. Yes.
So you wouldn't mind being able to protect yourself. I mean, you live in Chicago, which has probably some of the most violent crimes in the nation. So, and I'm pretty sure if you were walking home at night and someone came up to mug you and your family, you wouldn't mind being able to protect yourself, would you?
Yeah, but I have never considered buying a gun, even though I'm somehow concerned about my security. I have never ever considered buying a gun.
Okay.
Does that make me less smart or?
No, it doesn't. It's just to each his own on this subject. But if you had a gun and you had your concealed carry for the state of Illinois, would you, and someone came up and tried to mug you, and you had the chance to stop this, would you let them mug you, or would you stop it?
But the reality is that I don't have a gun. And let me put it this way then for you. You do have a gun, and let's say you get drunk and you get in a fight. Would you even think about it twice before pulling the gun on someone for a stupid reason?
You're right. I do have a gun, but if I know I'm going to the bar, if I'm going out with my friends, I don't have it on me. I leave it in the vehicle.
Understand.
And if I don't leave it in the vehicle, I leave it at home.
What do you think as a combat veteran about this information that we're not gathering about the attacker, the gunman, that he was being investigated by the FBI? He was on the watch list, but we cannot keep these people on the watch list, even though they're being investigated, that we cannot keep them from acquiring legally these guns. What do you think should have been done to prevent this tragedy? Can we do more?
I believe he should have stayed on the watch list, and when it came down to purchasing a weapon, he should have been blacklisted for being on that watch list. Just like they put people that are on terrorist watch lists, they can't fly, they can't travel.
Right.
And everything. Same concept.
Let me be clear.
If you're on this watch list,
let me be clear before making this asking you this question. I really appreciate and I honor you and your comrades that fight to protect our rights as American citizens, as people living in the United States and working in the United States and chasing the American dream. I really respect the veterans. But let me ask you a question that it's a little bit political. What do you think about the ban that Donald Trump is proposing on all Muslims? Because of this and other cases in which radicalized Muslims are the center of the storm. What do you think about a ban on Muslims until we have a plan on how to deal with these situations?
If you weren't American born, if you're coming in as a refugee, then okay, yeah, ban them. But you also look to the Constitution and everything. It states in the Constitution that for religions allowed, there's only one religion that's not allowed to take place or take a foothold in the United States of America, and that's Islam.
What do you mean?
It says in the Constitution that the Islamic religion is not allowed.
So
because
you will.
the Islamic religion is based on making everybody else conform to them.
So you're saying that you will support a ban on all Muslims?
Saying I will support a ban on all Muslim refugees that are coming into the United States, specifically male refugees that are between the ages of 13 and up.
But but the reality, Mike, is that the person that pulled the trigger on these people in Orlando was born in New York, was not a refugee, that is not an illegal immigrant. How do we then face this threat in our own country, in our own soil?
You're right. That's where the FBI comes in for people that want to get on websites and sympathize for terrorists, saying, "Oh, I support you for bombing the Boston Marathon and everything."
But aren't we stereotyping? Aren't we making all the good Muslims paying for these stupid people? Because I'm trying to understand that you will support a ban on refugees and people coming from other countries for the simple reason that they're Muslims, when the guy that pulled the trigger in this particular case was born in the United States. So I don't understand it.
All I'm saying is make the process for refugees coming to the United States more stringent and everything. And then for homegrown terrorist threats, like the guy from Orlando that shut up the club, the FBI, law enforcement, have their job to do with
is the FBI
investigation.
Is the FBI failing? Is the FBI not doing the FBI? What did I say? The FBI is not doing the job right?
I'm not saying they're not doing their job right and everything. It's just they're doing their job. You also look at the amount of people that there are in the FBI compared to the amount of people coming into the United States, or the amount of people that are already in the United States. Their numbers are dwarfed by the amount of citizens that they have to investigate. So it takes time.
As a veteran, I respect you, I honor you, but let me ask you a question then. Would you support Donald Trump for president? Because I'm trying to understand your views, and it sounds that you will support views like Donald Trump's. Would you support, you're from Texas, a wall at the border? Would you support these ideas that go along with what you're saying?
You know, it's great that you bring up the subject about the wall at the border and everything, because everybody, all right, there's already a fence between Mexico and the United States and everything.
Yes.
So they make a big fuss about it. But you never hear anybody make a fuss about the wall between Guatemala and Mexico.
Let the governments of Guatemala and Mexico deal with that. We're talking about the border between Mexico and the United States.
You're right. Let those governments deal with it and everything. But it's a border. It just means that they're trying to make it to where if you want to come into the United States, you come in the legal way. Oh, well, if there's a wall there. It means use the gates, do the paperwork, and then come in. And do it all the right way so that you can become a U.S. citizen.
Let me identify this signal, Mike. I will let you go in a few minutes. Para la gente que nos está escuchando, voy a identificar la señal. Estamos platicando con Mike, un veterano de guerra del Ejército de Estados Unidos que apoya las visiones más o menos a la Donald Trump y está dándonos sus puntos de vista de por qué no apoya una ley más estricta en el control de armas, porque asegura que las armas no son las que matan personas, sino somos las personas las que matamos personas. This is WNDZ, Portage, Indiana, Chicago, 7:50 a.m. Está escuchando WNDZ, Portage, Indiana, Chicago, 7:50 AM. Mike, you're talking about coming the legal way to the United States, and we all agree on that. But the reality is that the system is broken, and something has to be done to fix the situation of 11, 12, 15, 20 million of illegal immigrants or undocumented immigrants living and working in the United States. How? Because the massive deportation idea will not be feasible. It's not something it can be done.
You're right. It's not something that can be done. It can be said that it can be done, but the amount of manpower that would actually take for law enforcement to go door to door or block to block, city to city, to find illegal immigrants is something that the United States doesn't have.
Why is it then that Donald Trump has been so successful with his message? Why would you support Donald Trump as a veteran, a combat veteran of the U.S. Army?
Because the other option isn't feasible to support.
You're talking about Hillary Clinton or Bernie Sanders?
Yeah. Hillary Clinton.
You prefer to go with Donald Trump?
I would prefer to go with a businessman over a woman that's broken so many laws during her tenure at Department of State.
So you prefer to go with the businessman that it's...
This nation's been ran by politicians for decades, centuries. And maybe it's time for a change. Maybe we don't need a politician.
For worse? I'm asking you because this businessman is bringing the worst out of the American citizen. The fears.
How do you see this businessman bringing the worst out of American citizens? I mean,
calling for a ban on all Muslims.
Dividing the nation.
Calling for a ban on all Muslims. Calling for a wall at the border. Those things are unacceptable. We shouldn't be we should be condemning those ideas.
You're right. You know what? We should be condemning them. But a wall at the border is better than closing off the border permanently, not allowing any traffic to or through the border and everything. A wall is just an obstacle. It means you go around it. There are gates for that reason. Those gates are manned by Border Patrol and customs agents.
Do you remember when Reagan asked, please bring this wall down? We all cheer in the world because the Berlin Wall was...
Yes, the Berlin Wall that separated East and West Germany.
Yeah.
And everything.
And it was a symbol of division. Wouldn't a wall at the border between Mexico and the United States will be a sign, a symbol of dividing two countries when we're more alike than we would like to think?
No.
No?
It's just a way of thought. If you see it as a blockade to not come into this country and everything, that's your way of thinking and everything. Okay, granted, it's not going to be pretty. It's probably going to be ugly to look at and everything.
But we'd rather have a businessman with a crazy idea of a wall at the border than the other option, is what you're saying.
To some people, yes.
Okay. No, and I respect. I mean, I don't agree, but at the end, you have the right to express yourself, and this is the idea of this show, to express ourselves, even though we don't agree on our views.
Not everybody agrees on everything. Some people agree on a little bit. Some people agree on a little bit of other stuff, but not everybody in this nation agrees on one sole thing.
Do you agree that the idea that the Mexicans are criminals, drug dealers, and everything else?
I do not agree. I do not agree with that whole statement. I know there's factions exceptions of Mexicans that are drug dealers and cartel people, but not every Mexican is, or any member of the Latino community is a cartel member or drug runner.
Rapist. Let me ask you then to close this conversation, Mike, and I really appreciate your time. How do you feel? How does it feel for an American citizen, a veteran, to be called racist, bigot, when you express your opinions? Because their voices, and I always say that as bad as the extreme right, as bad as the left, radicalized left, there are voices in our community, in the Latino community, that when we listen to an idea that is not necessarily what we are proposing, we call it bigots, or we call it racist, or we call it whatever names. I'm pretty sure that you have heard those names. How do you feel about it when you're labeled things, or you have labeled in a way for expressing yourself?
You know, the way I deal with it is I just let it go. I let it roll off my back. You're right, I'm a combat vet. I served my country in Iraq. And it gives, because of my service, it gives everybody else the right to their freedom of speech. They have the freedom to say whatever they want.
So even if you don't agree with them, you respect the right of them to express themselves.
Exactly. And everything. I served my country. I gave everybody else, I helped the members of the military that continue to serve now, and the former members. We gave everybody else in the United States their right to voice their opinion, the Second Amendment.